The United Socialist Party of Venezuela called for a mobilization this March 5th to commemorate the 12th anniversary of the passing of Hugo Chavez Frias, commander of the Bolivarian Revolution. The government of Palestine denounces the Israeli regime for imposing apartheid in the occupied West Bank. And the forest fire in Ofunato, northeastern Japan, has consumed 2,900 hectares and forced the evacuation of 4,600 people. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with news. The United Socialist Party of Venezuela called for a mobilization this March 5th to commemorate the 12th anniversary of the passing of Hugo Chavez Frias, commander of the Bolivarian Revolution. The mobilization is set to begin at different points of the city, including the historically combative 23 de Enero parish and end at the 4F mountain barrack where lay the remains of Commander Chavez. Among the activities, there will be an ecumenical prayer at the military hospital, a commemorative cantata, and the projection of 8 short films on the life and work of the revolutionary leader. The purpose of this mobilization is to exalt the memory of the commander of the Bolivarian Revolution, as well as the political ideology and the historical legacy that continues to be present. From his childhood in Sabaneta to his accession as president of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez Frias was a man guided by the social struggle and the dream of a united and sovereign Latin America. 12 years after his sowing, let's know some details of his life and work.
Hugo Rafael Chavez Frias was born in Sabaneta Barinas State in Venezuela on July 28, 1954. He was a revolutionary military and political leader who grew up in a humble family, living the difficulties faced by the popular sectors of the Venezuelan society. His training at the Venezuelan Military Academy prepared him as a soldier and brought him closer to Bolivarian ideas. This became the foundation of his political thinking centered on Latin American unity. In the 1980s, Chavez founded the Revolutionary Bolivarian Movement 200, an organization that sought to transform the Venezuelan political system. The critical point came in 1989 with the Caracazo, a people's rebellion violently repressed by the government of Carlos Andrés Pérez. On February 4, 1992, Chavez led the military uprising against the government. Although the action did not achieve its objectives, it laid the foundations for insurrection among the Venezuelan people. Later, Chavez founded the Fifth Republic movement and entered electoral politics. In 1998, he won the presidential elections with broad support from the population. Under his leadership, sectors such as oil were nationalized and social missions were implemented to guarantee health and education, achieving a Venezuela free of illiteracy by dropping the rate from 9.1% in 2003 to 4.9% in 2011. In addition, in regards to food, malnutrition was practically eradicated by decreasing the percentage of Venezuelans without the minimum daily food intake from 16% in 2000 to 5% in 2011. Poverty in the country was also reduced by half, from 62.1% in 2003 to 31.9% in 2011, according to data from the World Bank. Chavez was a critic of U.S. imperialism and an advocate for multipolarity. He promoted the creation of international associations such as ALBA, Petrocaribe, and the Union of South American Nations, which sought to strengthen sovereignty and cooperation in the region. Hugo Chavez passed away on March 5, 2013, leaving an indelible legacy. His revolution transformed Venezuela into a world reference in the struggle against neoliberalism and imperialism. His work lives on in the millions of Venezuelans who today have access to education, health and housing thanks to his humanist policies.
In Ecuador, journalist Patricio Aguiar was shot to death on Tuesday in the coastal province of Esmeraldas. According to the newspaper El Lucero, Aguiar was attacked during while he was covering a news event in the neighborhood of Fundo Limón in the province of Esmeraldas. Preliminary information reported that the journalist was shot more than 10 times and he was murdered inside a house. Esmeraldas is one of the provinces most affected by violence in Ecuador. Some context: according to figures from the Ministry of Interior, in January of this year, 781 homicides were registered, 276 more than in 2024 and 247 more than 534 in 2023. The number of murders is also the highest since President Noboa, who is seeking re-election in the second round of elections scheduled for April 13, took office. To confront these criminal groups, Noboa decreed states of exception to incorporate the armed forces in the fight against crime. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back, stay with us.
Un espacio que permite explorar la conexión entre cuerpo y mente. Y nos brinda nuevas alternativas para llevar una vida saludable.
Welcome back to From the South. The government of Palestine denounces the Israeli regime for imposing apartheid in the occupied West Bank. The Ministry of Foreign and Expatriate Affairs of Palestine stated in a communique that the Zionist incursions affect the daily life of residents by controlling their movements inside cities, villages and camps. The text emphasized that Tel Aviv's actions represent an atrocious punishment against the Palestinian people and resemble apartheid regimes. The entity condemned the silence of the international community in the face of the situation in the West Bank, especially those nations that claim to defend human rights. The Palestinian Authority's Detainees and Ex-Detainees Affairs Commission accused Wednesday Israeli prison service of committing torture and humiliation against Palestinian detainees in their prisons. The commission criticized the precarious conditions in Ofer prison in the occupied West Bank. Moreover, the entity condemned an Israeli raid on cells, which came along with trenches and gas spraying grounded in detainees were demanding medical treatment to one of the inmates. Likewise, released Palestinian journalists recounted the torture they had gone through. Meanwhile, the Palestinian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates urged the United Nations Independent International Commission of Inquiry of the occupied Palestinian territory to mull over the high death toll in Israeli prisons. In Egypt, Emergency Arab Summit consolidates Gaza reconstruction plan. The plan pursues the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip and aims to maintain that territory and the West Bank under a single authority. Furthermore, it rejects the attempt by the United States and its allies to displace the Palestinians from their territories. The text of the agreement requests the United Nations Security Council to provide international peacekeeping forces.
Regarding the ceasefire, there must be a second phase for implementing the ceasefire plan. This plan has been agreed upon, and each party, especially the Israeli side, must fully implement its commitments. Under no circumstances can the use of starvation as a tool for collective punishment be allowed, especially during this holy month.
هناك تحديات بطبيعة الحال.
There are naturally challenges, including the intransigent and extremist Israeli stance and its attempts to evade the commitments outlined in the ceasefire agreement that Israel itself signed. Therefore, any talk of rejecting UNRWA or the Palestinian Authority is mere rhetoric and cannot be accepted as they represent international legitimacy. We are presenting an alternative, and all we want to say is that there will be no security or stability for Israel or the region except through a political horizon and the fulfillment of the aspirations of the Palestinian people.
لأن هذا هو ما يمثل الشرع.
Yemen's armed forces have shot down a US MQ-9 drone that was violating Hodeida's airspace. The spokesman of the Yemeni Armed Forces, Brigadier General Jaja Sareh, confirmed that this was the 15th drone intercepted. Sareh emphasized that the Yemeni forces will continue their defensive missions to reaffirm their commitment to confront any aggression against Yemen and to support Gaza and Lebanon in their fight against external aggressions. He also stressed the importance of monitoring and tracking hostile movements in the Red and Arabian Seas to protect national sovereignty. In Pakistan, a group affiliated with the Taliban breached a wall by means of 2 suicide bombings at a military base, in addition to a concurrent raid that claimed over 10 lives in a northern province. Authorities informed that strikers stormed the compound, killing about 12 civilians and injuring 32 others. Pakistani police sources unfolded that the assault initiated after insurgents blew up 2 vehicles equipped with explosives with the aim of tearing down the outer wall of the base, sparking a clash between terrorists and security forces. Likewise, the Pakistani Interior Ministry expressed on X their condolences to the victims' families and confirmed that at least 6 terrorists had been hit to death.
This is a military zone and the wall has collapsed. There is a mosque where many people break their fast. Many Muslims come here for iftar and prayer. There has been a lot of damage. We have recovered 12 bodies, including those of women and children, from 3 houses that were badly damaged. And 31 to 32 injured have been taken out and rushed to the hospital.
And we have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. For a short break, we'll be right back. Welcome back to From the South. The forest fire in Ofunato, northeastern Japan, has consumed 2,900 hectares and forced the evacuation of 4,600 people. More than 2,000 firefighters from all over the country are taking part in the firefighting efforts to prevent the flames from spreading to residential areas. Snow began to fall in the early hours of Wednesday morning, preventing helicopters from continuing their work due to the lack of visibility. According to the Meteorological Observatory, it is expected that the next precipitation will help to extinguish the flames. For the moment, the initial toll of 1 dead and 84 houses damaged remains unchanged. Thousands of officers were deployed by Australian authorities to prepare for the arrival of tropical cyclone Alfred. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese reported that the cyclone is approaching from the east of the country, mainly impacting the states of Queensland and New South Wales, threatening more than 13 million people. The Weather Bureau said that Alfred is a Category 2 storm with winds of 95 to 130 kilometers per hour expected. In this context, authorities ordered the closure of more than 500 schools in both regions, and the damage caused by the winds is expected to start from this Wednesday night. On Wednesday, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko offered to host Russian-Ukrainian peace talks in Minsk, also inviting U.S. officials to participate.
Everyone should negotiate. If you want, come to Minsk. It's close to Ukraine, just 200 kilometers from the Belarusian border to Kiev, so 500 kilometers in total from Kiev to Minsk. Half an hour by plane. Do come. We'll sit here calmly, without hue and cry, and reach an agreement. So pass on to Trump that I'm waiting for him here, along with Putin and Zelensky.
In the United States, protesters from 50 states gathered in parks and public spaces across the country to criticize the policies implemented by President Donald Trump as he gave his speech to Congress. In some of the demonstrations, activists waved Palestinian flags and took the opportunity to condemn the collaboration of the U.S. government with the Zionist regime of Benjamin Netanyahu. One of the rally points was the U.S. Capitol, where protesters chanted slogans against President Trump and expressed their concern about the growing threat of fascism, while rejecting cuts and layoffs in federal agencies. This is the context U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday night defended his administration's actions, despite the fact that many of the measures are mired in controversy. Amid applause from Republicans and rejection from Democrats, the president called his administration the most successful era in the country, having achieved in 43 days what other administrations have taken 4 and 8 years, he said. When he referred to the fact that more U.S. citizens thought the country was heading in the right direction, a Democratic congressman was removed from the room after protests that interrupted his speech. Trump reiterated old promises and made new threats. He confirmed that immigration crackdowns would continue and reaffirmed accusations that the migrants who entered through the border were dangerous criminals. The president of the U.S., Donald Trump, justified the tariff policies by assuring that his government will use these measures to attack other countries, which has caused great controversy so far in the U.S. head of state's term in office.
April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in, and whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them. If they do non-monetary tariffs to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take in trillions and trillions of dollars and create jobs like we have never seen before. I did it with China, and I did it with others, and the Biden administration couldn't do anything about it because there was so much money they couldn't do anything about it. We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer.
In his speech, the U.S. president also made statements in relation to his conflict with the Panama Canal, making special emphasis on the fact that the canal was built by U.S. citizens, denying his government's ingerence and the right of Panamanians.
Just today, a large American company announced they are buying both ports around the Panama Canal and lots of other things having to do with the Panama Canal and a couple of other canals. The Panama Canal was built by Americans for Americans, not for others, but others could use it. But it was built at tremendous cost of American blood and treasure. 38,000 workers died building the Panama Canal. They died of malaria. They died of snake bites and mosquitoes. Not a nice place to work. They paid them very highly to go there, knowing there was a 25% chance that they would die. The most expensive project also that was ever built in our country's history, if you bring it up to modern day costs. It was given away by the Carter administration for $1, but that agreement has been violated very severely. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.